Okay, next, introduction to JavaScript built-in objects. In addition to console, there are other objects built into JavaScript. Down the line, you'll build your own objects, but for now, these built-in objects are full of useful functionality. For example, if you wanted to perform more complex mathematical operations than arithmetic, JavaScript has the built-in math object. The great thing about objects is that they have methods. Let's call the .random method from the built-in math object console.log math.random. In the example above, we called the .random method, but appending the object name with the dot operator, the name of the method, and opening and closing parentheses, this method returns a number between 0 inclusive and 1 exclusive binary numbers. To generate a random number between 0 and 50, we could multiply this result by 50 like so. The example above will likely evaluate to a decimal. To ensure the answer is a whole number, we can take advantage of another useful math method called math.floor. Math.floor takes a decimal number and rounds it down to the nearest whole number. You can use math.floor to round down a random number like this. Math.floor parentheses math.random parentheses multiplied by 50, which will give you a number between a random number between 0 and 50. So math.random generates a random number between 0 and 1. We then multiply the number by 50. So now we have a number between 0 and 50. Then math.floor rounds the number down to the nearest whole number. If we wanted to see the number printed to the terminal, you would still need to use a console.log statement. All right, so inside of console.log, what do they ask of us? Create a random number with math.random, then multiply it by 100. So math.random, and then we're going to go ahead and multiply it by 100. It is incorrect. Okay. Okay, so now you can see that it gives us a decimal. So now we're going to need to use the math.floor object. So now use math.floor to make the output a whole number. It's going to round this number down to 86, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because if it was 50, it would round it up to 87. So inside the console.log, you wrote in the last step, put existing math.random multiplied by 100 code inside the parentheses of math.floor. So let's take math.floor. Just make sure that math.random multiplied by 100 is within the parentheses of math.floor. Otherwise, you're going to get an error in your terminal. And as you can see, it shows the number 11. That's interesting. But if you run it again, 24. And if you run it again, 36. If you run it again, 29. Random numbers. Right, so the first thing they ask us is inside of console.log, create a random number with math.random, then multiply it by 100. So we're going to take console.log. We're going to use the math object math.random to get a random number. And then we're going to multiply it by 100 so that we can get a random number between 0 and 100. So if we run this, as you can see, there's a random number between 0 and 100, which is 98.5893464, name it. So now we want to get rid of this part just after the decimal. the decimal part. So we need a math object method to fix that. So now use math.floor to make the output a whole number. Inside console.log, you wrote in the last step, put the existing math.random multiplied by 100 console code inside the parentheses of math.floor. So make sure that math.floor, or make sure that math.random multiplied by 100 is within the math.floor parentheses. Okay, so math.floor, math.random. Let's run that. As you can see, there's a whole number, 25. And if you run it again, it's going to give you a whole number over and over again. I can run it again, see 44. But it's going to give me issues now because I'm on step 3. Let me run it one more time. You see number 11, random number. Right, great. Moving on. Number 3, find a method on the JavaScript math object that returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a decimal number. That returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a decimal number. Use the method with the number 43.8. Log the answer to the console. Right, so firstly, I'm going to just put in the number console.log the number 43.8. And then we're going to look for the math object that returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a decimal. Okay, so let's look for that math object that works like that. Okay, these are the methods. These are the built-in methods. Math.seal. I think it's math.seal. Let me click on that. Okay, yeah, math.seal function always rounds a number up to the next largest integer. Yeah, is it that? Yeah, should be. The smallest integer greater than or equal to the given number, exactly that. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so let's head back now that we have our math object. Let's put in math.seal. Run that. As you can see, that's exactly what the math object does. It took the number and it rounded up to 44 from 43.8. Okay, so next what we're going to do is, so if this was, what math.seal essentially does is, if this was 43.2, if I'm not mistaken, it would still round it up to 44. So it doesn't work like math.floor, where it just rounds it to the nearest number. No, it rounds it from to the nearest higher whole number, basically. I think that's what math.seal does exactly. It says here, let me just quickly read through it again. That returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a decimal number. That's exactly what it does. So, okay, so number 4, use the JavaScript documentation to find a method on the built-in number object. So listen carefully what they say. The built-in number object that checks if a number is an integer. Put the number 2017 in the parentheses of the method and use console.log to print the result. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to start off with console.log. I'm going to put in the number 2017. So that's out of the way. Now, I'm going to use the JavaScript documentation number object that checks if a number is an integer. So this is like sort of like a object within an object within the math object. So here we by number. Okay. Number, negative, infinity, positive, infinity is nan, is infinity. Well, determine whether the passed value is an integer. This is what we're looking for, right? 100%. Number dot is integer. Okay, so this is the math built-in method. Let's head back to our file. Okay, so we're going to start off with math dot is integer. Remember uppercase. Okay, sorry, it's not math dot integer. It's number. Number dot is integer. So let's run that and check. Extra parentheses. Yeah, I just added an extra parentheses by accident. So let's run that now. As you can see, it throws out a Boolean value of true. So yeah, 2017 is a number, is an integer. So yeah, as you can see there in the terminal, it throws out a Boolean of true. Okay, moving forward. Right, review. Let's take one more glance at the concepts we just learned. Data is printed or logged to the console, a panel that displays messages with console.log. We can write single line comments with two forward slash and multi-line comments with forward slash asterisk and asterisk forward slash. There are 7 fundamental data types in JavaScript: strings, numbers, booleans, null, undefined, symbol, and object. Numbers are any number without quotes, 23.8879. Strings are characters wrapped in single or double quotes. Sample string, as I said, single or double quotes. So you can use single or double quotes within JavaScript. It won't have any other effect on your program. It will do as it should. The built-in arithmetic operators include plus, negative, asterisk, forward slash, which is divide, and percentage, which is mode. Objects, including instances of data types, can have properties stored information. The properties are denoted with a dot after the name of the object, for example, hello.length. So objects including instances of data types can have methods which perform actions. Methods are called by appending the object or instance with a period. The method name in parentheses, for example, hello dot to uppercase. We can access properties and methods by using the dot operator. Built-in objects, including math, are collections of methods and properties that JavaScript provides. So here are a few more resources to add to your toolkit. Okay, up next. So if you'd like, you could practice